everybody. I'm Andy Bozarth, Community Outreach and Advocacy Director for AARP Kansas. Welcome to today's Coffee Chat. I'm joined by David Taylor, and we are going to discuss what it's like to change careers after the age of 50. We're having a few technical issues, but we may be joined by another guest here in a few minutes. So, David, welcome. How are you doing today?
Good to be here, Andy.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. I know you're very busy, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what it is like to change a career. After having a successful career, what does it take and what motivated you to change careers after the age of 50?
Good question, and the answer is somewhat complex, but it's been a great decision. What I was doing, currently I'm doing video and music production, which I absolutely love. Before this, what I was doing when, kids were home and raising a family and all, was insurance work. And I did enjoy insurance work, and it was great as a, occupation to support the family and all. But then after the kids moved out, it was kind of a life decision to what are my real passions versus what's just strictly income driven, what is also an income driver as well as a real high passion. And it's always been music for me. So that's kind of how I drifted into what I'm doing these days.
Oh, that's really interesting. And I like that, playing towards your passions aspect of changing careers. And folks, we have been joined by Jack Wilson, and we've been having some technical issues. So I'm going to see if we can hear Jack yet.
Are you lucky enough not to?
No, we actually can hear you. So that's great.
No. If you push in enough cables and take them out and push them, and then you realize that the computer has decided to switch mics. That's exactly what happened.
That's great. I'm so glad to have you back with us.
Well, thank you.
And I had just asked David about what was the motivation for switching careers after the age of 50, because that's a big risk. And so can you tell me a little bit about what motivated you to change careers?
My wife, who was originally from Lawrence, Kansas,
that's one a good day motivator.
In about 1994 said, would you be interested in moving to Lawrence? And I said, as long as we're together, I don't care where we are, because I was doing TV and radio and all sorts of things in Chicago, and I could do most of that from Lawrence. I commuted to Chicago for 5 years. In fact, if you look in the dictionary under the word idiot, you'll see my picture. It's right there for commuting every week. And we started, we wanted to do some farming. And I'm from New Jersey, and I don't know a frog from a tree. I mean, I don't know farming at all. We tested all sorts of stuff, and we finally found that lavender would work. And we started a lavender farm. And when David mentioned the word passion, that really rings a bell, because if you don't have a passion for what we're doing, don't do it, because farming is totally different than what I was doing before. A, it's all outside. B, it's hard work. And so if you don't like it and have a love for it, A, you're not going to do it well, and B, it'll drive you crazy. And so we shifted gears and started the started a farm and then turned it into a lavender farm. And now we have one of the largest lavender farms in Kansas. But you got to have the passion. If you don't have, I've always said there are three things to farming, at least for us. First is a passion. If you don't have a passion, don't drive yourself crazy. So you got to have a passion. Second thing is you got to have folks that are your friends that are going to help you, because for me, again, frog in a tree, that's not a joke. We don't make the same mistake twice. We make it 7 or 8 times. Right. So it's have great friends. And the third is have another job for a while, because you're going to need that income to transition into the farm. And we were fortunate. So that worked out. But so it's passion, I think, is the great word, and just a desire to do. I mean, and it's not the one of the terms, and this is terrible, and I'll stop, that I can't stand is people say, well, I'm just doing this to fill time. Don't do it just to fill time. Do it to make a difference, some sort of a difference. I don't know what difference lavender makes, but we seem to think that we're going to leave the land hopefully better than we found it. And lavender is a great product, et cetera, et cetera. So we hope that we're not just and others have said, we have a hobby farm. If this is a hobby, I have picked the wrong hobby. So I hope that answers that question.
That does. Can you, both of you, this question's for both of you, so whoever would like to answer it first, but tell me a little bit about what you used to do and how you made the transition. And then here's a big piece. This is a multi-focused question, but what about the fear? Because I know a lot of people who'd like to change careers, but they're scared of going into the unknown and letting go of what they know has been a good job for them.
If you want me to start with that? Okay. No, those are very legitimate concerns, I think. And probably for most people, including myself, the biggest fears is the financial. What really helped me to make the jump was my kids, both coming of age to where they are out on their own. And so I didn't feel the pressure of, okay, now I've got 2 extra persons who are dependent on my income, my career, and all that. And it kind of felt like back in the 80s, I was a full-time musician and I was single. And the feeling back then was I'm only kind of accountable to myself. And now my wife is my partner, but she's very supportive. And with her support, she's like, yeah, let's do our passions. It's, this last third of our life, let's go for it. And I think how at this age where it's such a advantage to do a change is you have so much experience. You've gone through enough trials of, hey, I tried this and I failed and I tried this, that you kind of have a better idea, I think, of how to make those transitions, and it's not just a complete catastrophe. Right. So it's there are legitimate concerns, and I definitely hear people that have those. But that's the beauty of getting older, is you have the experience. You've been through some of these, these fear type situations. You know how to overcome them, how to help prevent them.
A lot of wisdom in that statement. Jack, how about you?
Sorry about that. Being up in the hills outside of Lawrence, the internet is a real challenge sometimes. So if we drop in and out, I can blame that. Sometimes it's me, but in this time, it isn't me. I was in Chicago as what they call, I love this term, a TV executive. I'm not sure what that meant. It just meant that I had to wear a suit, I think, a lot. And I left that and started my own company. So I made a jump in my early 40s to start my own thing. So shifting gears again was much easier than it might have been had I had not done it before. But it was one of those things where we just decided, let's gamble. My wife had a great career. She was one of the country's leading food photographers. So the finances were important, but they might not have been as important as they might have been. And so we gambled and did it. But I was still able to transition when we moved from Chicago to Lawrence. When I said I commuted, I still commuted for 5 years. So I was still doing much the same thing, but with a different purview. And I was able to then sort of slowly get into the farming. I mean, when you try basil, organic basil, and your wife calls you in Chicago to tell you that the first...
Oh my, I think we've lost Jack. We are having a little technical difficulty, so please bear with us. David, you mentioned that you are married, and I know your wife had a career prior to moving too. So was it hard for both of you to do this? Did you have a plan? How did you start the move?
Actually, it wasn't that difficult at all, and a lot of that has to do with my wife's support. I wouldn't have done this, made the change without her support. So, a lot of the credit needs to be given to her for being able to make this. My wife was doing commercial property management for about the same number of years that I was doing insurance. And we both, it's just kind of our own personal philosophy. Jack had mentioned his wife and I said, you know what, let's just take the gamble. To me, it's kind of a gamble if you don't live life where you pursue things. It gets into a philosophical realm of how are we really living our life to its fullest potential. And to me, it's a bad gamble if I get stuck in a rut. So it is a gamble, but we really talked about it a lot. There was a lot of conversations. There was a lot of let's plan how to make these moves so that we don't make silly mistakes. But yeah, it is a gamble. But I've always looked at life. Life is a gamble. So choose the good gambles over the bad gambles.
Right. That makes sense to me. For those of you just joining us, welcome to the Coffee Chat. I'm Andy Bozarth, Community Outreach and Advocacy Director for AARP Kansas. And today, David Taylor and Jack Wilson and I are discussing changing careers after the age of 50. And so far, it's been a great conversation. So if you have any questions, please put those into the chat box. And I know David and Jack will be happy to answer those questions for you. One thing I want to know is tell me about the pitfalls. What are the things that got to you after you had made the choice that made you think, oh my gosh, what am I doing this for? And Jack, why don't we start with you? Some of the pitfalls.
I got to tell you, I can't, this is going in and out again. The gods of the internet have attacked me. If you could repeat the question one time, and if not, then
Oh my, we lost Jack one more time. So I'm going to go to David. Can you tell me some of the pitfalls that have made you slap your head and say, what was I thinking?
Sure. Really, I think the biggest pitfall is probably the financial end of it. Is there's about a fear of are we going to be financially strapped at this point in our lives? Who wants that? But honestly, having gone through years of, a couple of gambles as to switching companies and insurance, because I didn't work for just one company, different positions. So that kind of, same with my wife. She was familiar with changing, even though within the same field, different companies. So there's that gamble aspect again. And once you go through it a few times, it's not as fearful, for lack of a better term. And so, yeah, there are pitfalls, but if it's truly something that you get into that you're passionate about, you're very, very thoughtful about what the potential pitfalls are. But rather than obsess on them, I prefer to focus on what are the joys that you get out of doing your passion. And while being cognizant of, okay, let's not make mistakes. Let's not, foolishly pursue our passion here, but let's focus on what's the gains versus what are the pitfalls.
Oh, there's so much wisdom in what you just said. There really is, because I would be probably somewhat controlled by fear, I think, if I was to make a big change like this and make a complete career change. But Jack, let's try this again. What are some of the pitfalls that you've had to deal with that made you slap your head and say, "What was I thinking?"
When the plants die.
Oh no!
Oh, we've twice we have lost just about the entire field, and we had 6,000 plants. And so you have a financial problem, and you have a psychological problem. 7 weeks ago, we, after the winter, if you remember here, at least in Kansas, it was 22 degrees below zero, not wind chill temperature. And then
Yes.
a week later, it was 70 degrees. So it was a 92-degree spread. And we went out in the field and looked at the plants, and the plants said, "We're dead, guys." And that's
Oh my!
6,000 plants. Well, we had three options: dig them out, leave them alone, or cut them back. So we dug out probably 1,000, 1,500 and put in new plants. We couldn't just leave the others, so we cut those back. So we're hoping, and as a matter of fact, they seem to be greening up and coming back. But it's that kind of affair, especially when it's not something that you've spent. I spent 40 some odd years in TV. I may look 12, but honestly, I'm older. And so it took, when you're farming and you've only been doing it X number of years. I'll tell you what, too, the interesting thing is, and Kathy and I have talked about this, if I had to do again, starting back, if I would pick something to do in college, I probably would pick ag. I loved television. I loved radio. I'd wanted to do that since I was 7 years old. But now that I've changed careers totally, I mean, it's great when you go and you go to the doctor and they say, "You're retired." And you say, no, not. And they say, "You're not retired? What do you do?" I said, "I'm a farmer." And they look at you and they look at you and they shake your head, and it makes me feel so good. Because, and it has to come back to the first word, one of the first words David said, and that's passion. When I say if my wife didn't have a passion for this, we wouldn't be doing it. And the other thing too is my wife is incredibly supportive. We do this together. I mean, we are partners in the farm. I handle the farming and the marketing, and she makes with her group all the products, and is so much smarter than I married so far above my pay grade that it's really exciting. Without her, I don't think I could be, I don't think I could be doing this, but because it really is a team effort. I don't know if that answers that or not, but
It did. Thank you. And you both talk so much about the passion. And that's what I keep hearing is the passion and the wisdom that comes with age around changing jobs. We do have some comments from the audience. The first comment is, "Too bad about the technology problems. Great guest." So you're getting some love from our audience. And then the question is, what has been the most fun?
oh,
And I'll take that from either of you.
You want me to start, Jack?
Yeah, please, because there are a lot of stuff, but you go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. What the most fun is? The simplest one answer to that is I'm able to serve others through what I do, through something I love. What is absolutely rewarding to me, and I've had a chance to share this with you, Andy, on occasion for some AARP shows that we've done. There are musicians, and in the case of a show we have, if I can do a promotion for it, September 10th,
Absolutely.
spoken word concert that I'd really encourage everyone to see, of artists who, when we initially talked to them, they were a little reluctant. They were not too savvy to technology. And we've made a very nice production of this. And suddenly they realized, hey, I can be relevant in this social media world.
Right.
It doesn't matter that I'm over 50, I'm over 60, I'm over 70. I still have relevance with something I love to do, which is record music or do spoken word. I love that. Or we have even done some sunflower scoops where people who weren't
Right.
technologically savvy, they were able to share the wisdom on gardening or care for animals or a number of things. And I love that. It is a way to serve others, to help them express their passion. And that's even higher than fun for me. I mean, it's fun, but it's extremely rewarding.
I love that answer. Thank you. And Jack, how about you? What's been the most fun for you?
Mine probably isn't as altruistic. That's a great answer, but it's doing something that I've never done before, and just saying I'm going to try it, and I mean on a daily basis. I mean, I didn't know how to plant a plant. I mean, I was brought up on the Jersey Shore. I mean, we didn't have plants. You know, we had water and sand, but we didn't. So learning to plant, and believe it or not, with my eyesight like it is, I read for the blind, and so I have an opportunity to give back in an area because it's all recorded, and I don't usually have this kind of technical problems, but that's me, not you. That I'm able to continue just a tad of what I used to do and love to do, and then I'm now doing something that I really love and really enjoy. I had people say, do you miss Chicago? And I say, oh yeah. And they said, well, then you don't like Lawrence. I said, those are two totally different questions. I love it here. I love what I do here. I loved what I did. I didn't leave because, oh my God, I got to give this up. I was able to make the decision and say, I'm going to try something new. Given the opportunity of doing it while I was here and commuting back to Chicago for a while, that made the transition for all of this much easier. And then when I shifted over to full-time farming, my one of the great fun parts is you can't see from here down. I have on jeans and I have on a black polo shirt. When I was with the TV stuff, it was a suit and a tie and all. Black polo shirt, jeans in the summer, black turtlenecks, jeans in the winter. The one fop I have for the jeans is the jeans, if I'm going anywhere, have to be pressed. That's the only, it's as close as I get to suits and ties. And that's fun. Calling your own shots, making your own decisions, and at the same time, making your own mistakes and then trying to figure out how to do it. That's all, to me, that's great fun. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have sleepless nights because they're there. But for farmers, the nights end about 4:30 in the morning. So my nights are shorter than normal. So I hope that, and I'm not trying to be too funny because I absolutely love what I'm doing. And so it makes it, and I want to do a plug too. It's Washington Creek Lavender.com, and lavender is spelled E-R, not A-R. Everybody wants to spell it Lavendar. It's not. It's E-R. We sell online, and we also sell in the little shop that we have on the farm. So, and that's what I did for my summer vacation. Jack Wilson.
That's great. Thank you. One thing, kind of a common theme here that I'm hearing is that neither of you left your old jobs because you hated them. You actually moved towards your passion. So you were moving towards something as opposed to running away from something. And do you think that made a difference?
Totally.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally. Yeah. You make it. I'm sorry. One more, just, and with moving towards the passion, I didn't know that farming was going to become a passion. I just knew that I wanted to give it a shot. And with all the ups and downs, again, we don't make the same mistake twice. We make them 7 or 8 times. Just want to be sure.
Oh, yeah. David?
No, I think something Jack touched on that's kind of a follow-up to what's fun, quote unquote, is that doing something where you do pursue your passion, where you do make the decision, we're going to take a little gamble here. You talk about re-injecting a youthful feeling back into your life because you spend your whole life as a kid experiencing new things. You go to college, you experience new things, and then people get into their careers and things kind of tend to be very consistent. I enjoyed my insurance job and I will always be thankful for it. I'm always grateful for it. It supported my family. As Jack said, it's nothing I was running away from. But once our kids moved out, it was time to, both my wife and I looked at ourselves and said, okay, it's time to focus on us. And how do we do that? Let's inject that feeling we had in our youth where let's experience something new and that we're passionate about. And you go from, I'm 61 now, you go from 60 to 20 like that in your head. And I love that. It's a great feeling to live life on those terms.
And the same thing,
Great.
if I can tag onto that, I'm
Sure.
slightly older. I'm 75, and so, but I act 12. So I think it's all right, 11. I don't know, but it really it is at this age, and people say, well, I love this line, Jack, you should find something you like to do and retire. And I said, well, no, wait a minute. Let me see if I understand this. I'm supposed to give up something I do to retire to find something I like to do. It makes no sense whatsoever. If you're fortunate enough to be able to find that, and you're a lot of times you're not going to know. It's at any age, I would suggest it's worth the gamble. And if someone says it's not a gamble, of course it's a gamble. But if you look at it in the right way and it's your passion, as we've said, the gamble's fun. Now, and I'm telling you, there were times that 6 or 7 weeks ago when Kathy and I sat on the back porch with a cup of tea. It should have been something stronger, I'm afraid, but it was a cup of tea. And we said, are we going to continue given all the problems we've had with the plants? That was a Sunday. By that Friday, we had pulled out the other ones, cut them off, and planted well over 1,000 new plants, just because we said, let's just gamble and do it. And we're lucky we could do that. We're fortunate.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a great insight. We have a couple more comments from the section or from the audience. And one is, I love this conversation. Lots of helpful insights. And this is going to have to be our last question of the day. How do you best deal with the stresses of moving lives and work? David?
I'm not quite sure if I fully grasp the question. Every job will have a little bit of stress. I mean, with what I do, it's dependent on collaborating with others, in that they have to deliver to us in time to edit and post the show. So a good portion of my job, so to speak, is kind of chasing down our performers and, right. Hey, I really need this by Friday, so I have time to edit it so we can get it aired by the scheduled date. So there is a little bit of stress with that. But as far as the overall occupational change itself, I really haven't looked at it as stressful. To me, I look at it as it would be stressful if I wasn't evolving my life. That, to me, I'm much more fearful of. Mm-hmm. If I felt my life was stagnant and it was going nowhere, and I'm going to finish things out just very bored and very that to me is stressful. Right. So I love the challenge of this change, and it's not really that big of a challenge because I'm passionate about it. But I love that my wife gave me the green light, and she fully supports it. To say, you know what, let's do this. Let's have life be as exciting for us without being foolish, but let's right. have life be exciting for us all the way through. And I love that. I love that decision. There has been no stress with that actual decision right there.
That is great. Before I have Jack answer that same question, I want to read one more comment, and this is ha 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 ha. Right, even Warren Buffett still works. So making in reference to the age factor. So quick
Warren Buffett story, fast one. They asked me one time to speak at BYU, And I went out and it was on business, and I had to go out, and I went out to speak. And I got there, and I was back then, I decided, the heck with it. I'm out here. I'm going to wear a sweater, and I wore a sweater and a pair of jeans. And the speaker before me, and I didn't know this, was Warren Buffett. So, I mean, to follow Warren Buffett is, oh, yeah. And so I thought, how do I do this? And I said, well, there's only one thing that's different between me and Warren Buffett. And everybody simply said, what's that? I said, he's wearing a tie. And they just, that was, you're talking about stress. People ask me, well, don't you like it more that you've left the stressful world of television? You have none of those deadlines, and you're here on a farm in Kansas, and you have no stress. And I said, let's talk about the word stress for a moment, because I think there's good stress and there's bad stress. If it's stress that you're kvetching about, that oh my God, what am I going to do? Bad stress. If there's stress that is looked at, I got to get from here to here, and I don't know how to do that. What am I going to do? And you figure it out. That's great stress. So there is as much stress. If you're a farmer, I've found out, and believe me, with farmer, for me, I'm a small F. I mean, everybody that's around me in this area, they're the farmers. Good Lord, without them, we couldn't do this. But you just decide how you're going to figure out how to do it, and you move off. So there's lots of stress, but I'm not so sure that, as I said, that stress is necessarily all bad.
Right.
Passion. Back to the word.
So, well, thank you very much. We have another comment about great answers on the stress question. Thank you. And thank you, David and Jack. I really appreciate you joining me today on Coffee Chat. And for those of you in the audience, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you again next week, same time, same place.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Now I got to go to the farm. I got to go to work.